Plaintiff, Queenie Poole, says the defendant is her daughter, and she had high hopes for her. But after graduating high school, the defendant started abusing drugs. Queenie says her daughter has overdosed 5 times, and she's suing her today for unpaid rent. Defendant Carlisha Poole admits to her addiction, specifically to crack and heroin. As a result, Carlisha lost custody of her 2 children and is fighting to get them back. And she denies owing her mother for rent.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Okay, just to give you a little background, Your Honor, Carlisha is my oldest of 2 daughters. My life was hard growing up. My mother was addicted to drugs, so
What type of drug?
Anything she could get her hands on, crack, heroin, I believe. I'm not too sure because my father ended up raising me at a very young age all my life, so I didn't really know my mom. That's what made me always think, you know, anything strong enough to take a mother away from their child, I didn't want no parts of it, so I never tried the stuff. I didn't subject my kids to it. So Carlisha was always very smart. She's beautiful. She never even had to bring homework home from school. That's how smart she was. She graduated from school at 17. I had very high hopes for her. She ended up having children, 2 little girls.
At what age?
She started at 18. She had her first daughter.
So right after graduation, what did you all have planned?
We really didn't have a goal for her.
Oh.
She wasn't really happy where I was living, so in order for her to feel okay, to be around her friends, we moved around a lot because I was trying to make our life better. So I let her go stay with a friend, which now I totally regret. But in the meantime, she did meet
You have another child?
Yes.
How old?
She's 18.
She finished high school?
Yes.
What has she been doing since then?
She has just with her friends too.
You didn't have a plan for her when you saw that she was going to graduate, like in the senior year?
She was in a college kind of prep thing for when she was in high school. So she did have hopes and dreams, but when she turned 18, she wanted to do her own thing too, and that's a lot of. As
a senior in high school, did you try and arrange for her to apply at colleges and universities and for grants and loans?
I encouraged it. She did have things coming in from colleges, but no, Your Honor, I didn't.
Okay.
You know, we always talked about it, but no, I didn't. And
well, talking about it is somewhat planning, but you just got to be a little more specific with the plan. But if you talked about it, you did. You're smart, and you say, hey, when you graduate, you need to go to college or to trade school or to community college because you're smart, and that's the only way you're going to be able to feed a family.
Yeah.
You know, if nothing else. And then when the time comes, hey, where you at with that? Did you apply for your financial aid? Because by definition, children are children.
You're right.
Meaning they're not responsible.
You're absolutely
and
right.
you gotta egg them on. So just food for thought.
My father had a stroke also when I was a very young age. So outside of me not having a mother, my father couldn't talk to me either. I was a high school dropout. I did go back to school and get my college degree, but yes, my parenting I probably didn't.
When did you get your
things
degree?
all the time. In 2012.
Well, you knew the value of education
Yes,
at that time, and you knew the value.
I worked very hard.
What happened when you allowed her to go live with someone else?
We moved around a lot, so we stayed in Fostoria. That's where I was raised, but I didn't stay there. So, but we did move back there. That's when I went back to school. So she went to high school there, and she had friends that she liked to be around. So when I moved back to Toledo to get a better job after graduation, she wanted to stay in Fostoria, so I allowed her to stay in Fostoria. She had graduated from high school, so.
Got it. How often would she come back home?
How often
to
would
Toledo, to see her mom?
Not very often. I would stay on her, mostly on the phone.
Did you see her every month at least?
I'm not sure.
And let me hear from you.
Hello, I'm Carlisha. She is right, we did move a lot. I went to 4 different high schools between my freshman and sophomore year. And so by the time I was in sophomore, I asked her to put me in online classes, which only made my depression 10 times worse at 15. So by the time I did graduate early at 17, I did go back down to her hometown, and within 3 months I got pregnant. I was in a very abusive relationship for 4.5 years. We had 2 kids together.
Starting at what age?
From the moment we got together, he put his hands on me.
What age was that?
I was 17 and he was 19.
And where were you living, with your mom?
No, we were living with his grandma. So
his grandmother?
Yeah.
At 17?
Yeah, so then we ended up, I think like halfway through my pregnancy, I moved back in with my mom because she did help me. But
because you were being abused.
Yeah, and he ended up getting a job in Toledo and stuff, so we were good for a few months, but then we ended up going back to Fostoria, and I mean, since we wasn't around my mom or any kind of family that could, I guess, stop him, it just only got worse. And then we both got into drugs, and we did pills, and it just snowballed and got worse. I lost my kids last year. Well, temporarily lost custody of them. I'm still fighting for them.
Where did the children go?
They're with foster parents right now.
Did you ask your mom to help you or raise them? Or?
Yeah, they told her that she wasn't allowed to.
Who told her that?
They just kind of denied her. The CPS.
Court? Did they say why?
She had got charged with fraud from having somebody else's food stamp card on her, but she never got convicted. They dismissed the charges and everything, but that was the only reason they could give me for them not giving my kids to my mother.
Yeah, that's terrible, and the system sometimes just doesn't have common sense.
Yeah.
They write these laws and policies and are rigid about them and don't have the common sense to know that if they're with their grandmother, they're 500%, 1,000% better off. And they got a grandma they could be with, and grandma would certainly be able to show them love and nurturing versus what a stranger would bring them, because they're in, that's just horrible. That's just horrible. That's why we got to be involved in government, just like with this COVID-19 that we're experiencing. It's horrible the way the federal and state governments, and you see, we have to go through all this, these plexiglass and that, and still has to wear a mask, and people out there in the audience, we have to require that now. And the second I step out the door, I have to wear a mask off every day, all day, and it's just terrible because government failures. And in this instance, it sounds like the government failed you and your mother. And that's just so upsetting. Lord have mercy. All right. You want to tell me about the rent here I'm suing for?
Yes. Carlisha went to jail for a little while. When she got out of jail, she needed somewhere to go. We discussed her paying $300 a month for her to come stay with me. That was in November. I understood that she wasn't working, and this was in November before the pandemic, but we made this arrangement. I also asked her to go to rehab.
What were you hooked on?
Heroin and crack.
Heroin and crack? Mm-hmm. Would you use them at the same time? Mm-hmm. Which is the most deadly type of ingestion of drugs you can have. Most deadly. Beyond fentanyl, which is more potent than heroin, which kills in and of itself. All right. So you had Yeah, real struggle on your hand. And how long had she been clean or been in jail? How long had she been there?
She did 35 days, I believe, at that time.
Did they have a drug treatment program in there?
No.
Yeah, it's horrible. This government.
They just let her out, and then
these people really don't care. These government leaders do not care in many instances. They can't. They can't possibly care.
They can't, and it's sad.
They can't possibly care. One young lady comes in addicted to that extent on those type of drugs.
They let her out the same night she overdosed with somebody, and they threw her on the side of the road.
The same night she got out.
The same night.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. All you do with a 30-day is give them enough time to where all they want to do when they come out is get a fresh high. They haven't learned the coping. They haven't learned the NA skills. They haven't learned all the other skills it takes, the life skills to avoid falling back into a term of addiction. 30 days, what is that going to do without any drug treatment inside of the prison walls? Well, I'm sorry to hear that you went through this, young lady. The courts failed you again. They should have ordered it when you went to jail, or the Department of Corrections should have that as a policy statewide. Or even if it's in the city, judges, county judges, they could have their own policies. When I was at district court in Detroit, I started a deterrence program, mentorship program, had 25 churches, did it on my own. Another one of the judges had a handgun program for Detroit where if you had come before him with a handgun, and then he got some of the other judges to join with him, Judge Willie Lipscomb, the late Willie Lipscomb, he's passed on now, but he'd have every Saturday a gun program or what have you. And everybody, he or any of the other judges who wanted to join his effort, part of their bail, and this is before your sentence or before the trial, part of your bail is you must come on Saturdays to the gun protection program. Can't remember the exact name of it. And so those are the type of things judges can do without state law. And so it's just very, very bothersome when society continues to fail people. Both you fail them at the education level, you fail them because if you don't have a proper preparation by way of some sort of education, you fail them in the job market. Can't get a job with livable wages. Then if they do fall off into drugs, then you just lock them up and you let them back out with no treatment. And then they do the same thing, and it's a revolving door. And this is what the big issue that we found in studying this, because I do work outside of the courtroom, and most of it is involving social justice. And from a data point of view, as we like to talk about, the data says that it is much more cost efficient for the state budgets to treat a small-time criminal or person convicted either of drugs or anything else. It's better to treat them with counseling if it's not a drug problem. It's better to certainly with drugs as opposed to locking them up. Now, society had a choice. Educate me or incarcerate me, or I had the choice. And I chose to be educated versus incarcerated, and I saved the taxpayers' money. And so studies have shown now, and many governors and states are smart enough now to increase more of the education budget and reduce the corrections budget, educate over incarcerate. That's what the criminal justice reform was. That's how they were able to get so much support, because the Republican state governors are saying, you're right, we're spending all this money to incarcerate these people when all we have to do is invest in their education on the front end, and we won't have our budgets overwhelmed by these Democrats. or whoever they're concerned with about running the budget deficit up. Now I'm through preaching, but people need to know that. People need to know that. So, did you tell Mama you're gonna give her $300 a month?
I did not, because I did not have a job at the time, and then was just also a hot mess at the time, so no.
Did you intend to get a job and clean yourself up?
I did tell her I would try to get clean. It has been a struggle because I did go to jail in January to March, and then when I got out of
a second time.
No, well,
that's the first time and only
time.
No, that was the fourth time. Back in November when I moved in, I hadn't gotten in jail for like 2 months before then, and then I moved in with her, and then I got caught stealing in January, and they took me to jail for 35 days.
So 4 times you went to jail?
Yeah.
Did you get any rehab or treatment any of those 4 times? And every time you were addicted to the worst possible drugs you can be addicted to. And nobody gave you any treatment 4 times. All right. What's your judge name? I'm ready to fight him. You have 4 different ones. I can't fight 4 people at the same time.
It was actually all the same judge. And the 4th time, I had 4 warrants. He OR'd me on 3 of them, held me on $1,000 bond. And then my felony judge, she OR'd me on my 2 trafficking charges.
I'm getting more and more upset by that, and I do want.
Because I don't even have a background. I don't have nothing more than traffic tickets.
And they stopped you from having.
That card was in my pocket because I went to the store for my friend who has 3 small children and no vehicle. That's the only reason why it was in my pocket. So it even shows on my record that it was not charged against me. But
and they deny you helping your grandchildren when their mother is drug addicted. Exactly. Instead, they put them in a foster care because as a food stamp recipient living in poverty, along with your other single women, no doubt, you all are trying to survive, and whatever little bit might have been misinterpreted or the truth of this little bit food stamp money, they're going to deny you your mother to take in your children and put them instead in foster care. Your children, how they're doing now? We here for rent, but this is more important to me.
They're
how
fine.
Are they doing?
They're getting big.
They're adjusted where they live?
They are still with foster parents in the process of going down to Texas with my cousin until I get clean.
Okay.
Go get treatment. So
they are going to be with a relative. Yes. Good. All right. All right. And you say you didn't agree to pay rent, but you agreed to get a job and turn your life around. So how did you intend to live then if you weren't going to pay rent? What did you intend to happen?
The charges that I had picked up were for petty theft and prostitution. Mm-hmm. That's essentially how I, supported my habit.
I know you had to do everything. If you were hooked on cocaine and heroin, you were doing everything.
So I did still kind of give her money now and then, but it's not rent, you know what I mean?
Now how long have you been sober and out of jail?
I've been out of jail since March 3rd.
You sober?
No.
Okay.
I overdosed the day I got out of jail, and exactly a month later, I did go to the hospital for 6 days and detoxed, and they gave me Suboxone. I did them the way I was supposed to. I never, they knocked me out anyway. It was just way too strong. So I just ended up selling the rest of them and going on with my day.
You've never
which
attended?
Has only made this worse.
So you've never gotten treatment? You've been addicted to drugs for a number of years?
A year.
Only 1 year? You did all that damage in 1 year? You went to jail 4 times in 1 year?
Half, yes. Since
you was getting real high.
I
mean, you went to jail.
Yeah.
All right, we're laughing, but I think you need some.
I do.
I believe at least you need some part-time drug counseling, which you can probably get with insurance. That's why the Affordable Care Act is so important. The so-called Obamacare, Affordable Health Care Act, those who have it can get treatment. I have my staff try and work with you to find a place where you can go and get outpatient counseling, maybe 3 times a week, couple hours, and then you would go to NA meetings a couple of times a day. And that is what I've seen work with folks. So you're gonna give me your word that you're gonna do that?
Yes.
Then my staff gonna follow up with you. All right. Make us proud. Make us proud, because I'm hurt right now, okay? Don't hurt me anymore, all right? Do it for me, because that's hurting me. So until I hear back from you, you're gonna keep me up at night. Don't do that to me.
Sorry.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, that's worth that $2,500. Your case dismissed. She didn't agree. You don't have any evidence. You have evidence. You have a text where she said, "Mama, I'll pay you."
No, I don't have a text.
What you have?
Nothing.
Leave her alone. All right. Claim dismissed. You got what to do. Bye-bye.